Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udidayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrimantam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hiliyantasto Hyabadrani Vidunoti Suhirsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayi sabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established by as an irrevocable fact. Okay, so description of fifth chapter. We are still on the fourth canto, part 1. Let me just take it here because I kept my computer already. So let's just quickly recap. First chapter, Maitreya described the dynasty of Svayambhu Manu, in which the Lord appeared as Narayan Rishi. Then the second chapter, we see how Daksha offends Lord Shiva, considering him merely his son-in-law. The third chapter, Sati begs her husband, Lord Shiva, to let her attend her father's sacrifice. She was much attached to the family that she ignored the advice and warnings of Lord Shiva. Then the previous chapter, Sati was neglected and by her father. She was, of course, very much upset at the insult to her husband. So she decides to quit his body and immolates herself in a fire by yoga meditation. Now, she decides to quit her body because she didn't want to have anything tied to her father. So, when after all, this material body is not a permanent one, it's a temporary body. So she decides to cut all connections to her father. Now, on the fifth chapter, we want to see what is the result of insulting a Vaishnava and committing such a heinous aparad. Because now we're going to see that Lord Shiva, she's going to create the fearful demon Virabhadra, and he will destroy not only the sacrifice, but he will also behead Daksha. Now, again, Daksha's arrogance, pride, assumption led him to commit not only the aparad of insulting Lord Shiva, but he also failed in fulfilling his dharma as his father, as her father. And what is that dharma? To protect his daughter. And so that he has to be punished for that as well. Assumptions, envy, are very dangerous when we allow our egos, our senses to rule our mind, then our intelligence is lost, and we cannot even think about what the consequences would be for our actions. Lord Shiva understands, and there's written the purport that Lord Shiva understood that Sati, she was the youngest daughter of Daksha, and but he was not able to mitigate the understanding between Daksha and himself. And when Sati left her body, giving up her body, when the news was conveyed by Narada Muni to Lord Shiva, we always see Lord Shiva meditating so peacefully, but then when Lord Shiva is upset, everybody runs. Lord Shiva was very angry. He just pressed his lips, his teeth, he immediately snatched from his head, and with a blaze of his hair, he just started a fire. And Bhagavatam says that he was laughing like a madman and dashed his head at the ground. And at that time, he actually created this huge demon, Virabhadra, was such a fearful demon. And he was sent to summon all the soldiers, to go with him, all his entourage. Lord Shiva's entourage went with Virabhadra, and caused such a havoc at the area where they performed the sacrifices. So of course there was no sacrifice, and instead, the arena was stopped, and Daksha and others were fearful, of course, and when Virabhadra caught Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body, and he was unsuccessful. But then he tried to cut the head of Daksha with the mantra as the weapons, and but still was unable to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha. So Virabhadra then was wondering what's going on. But then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. So he took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. And upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully. And who was the entourage of Lord Shiva, all the bhutas, or the ghosts, or the demons that had come and made such a tumultuous sound. And on the other hand, the brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Virabhadra at the end took the head, and with great anger threw it in the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it its oblation. And in this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for the sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed to their master's abode. It is said that this is the device that is used. Prabhupada said in the purpose of the device that is used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras, yajnas, and they were performed as a test of the mantra. So even in modern age, Srila Prabhupada says that tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratories, basically, the guinea pigs and all kinds of animals. So similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly, it was tested by sacrifice in the arena. The animals, then they lost their lives, but again, because of the power of mantra, these sacrifices will help them get a better body in the next life. And these mantras that were chanted to them, to the ear, by a proper Brahmana, it actually includes that whatever is done to you today, whatever I'm doing to you today, it will be done to me tomorrow. So I doubt anybody who does these things, who eats meat or who kills an animal, goes and talks to the animal in this way. I don't want to take for any discuss a particular text because everyone is going to be reading those. What I would like to say in general is to go back into the chapters and just see what was the intention of Daksha. Why did he become like that? And how, as always, Prabhupada said, learn from the scriptures and how our behavior should and should not be. Assumptions, as I mentioned before, assumptions and envy, pride, they're very, there's stones in our spiritual life because it blocks our mind, it blocks, it covers our intention. Our intention should be properly guided and always for the pleasure of Krishna. We have said many times, when Krishna is pleased, everything falls properly and everybody is happy. But we have to have that desire and the right intention, the enthusiasm. Not so long ago, I think it was discussed that what is more important, the intention or the message? Many said that is both. I personally, it is important, but I personally feel and that intention has more weight. Why? Because we need the intention to create a message. The message is going to contain the intention that we have already set forth. If we are saying, we want to talk about a particular thing, or something happened and we see a person, am I going to have the message first, or am I going to have the intention? What is my intention to communicate to that person? If it is a positive thing, then my message is going to be a positive one. But if it is a negative one, then I will have the intention. I'm going to speak in this way so that the message that this person is going to receive will have this impact, or is going to be this effect. So effect and effect are very important for us to really see what we want to do, what we want to speak, what our actions would be, and what our consequences would be when we release an arrow. We cannot just go and run and catch it. It's gone. Similarly, our words or our actions, once they're gone, when we've spoken, and once we have acted, then there's no way that we can go back in time and correct them. We can correct them. We can make corrections and apologies and have a reaction. For every action, there's a reaction. So we want to make sure that we always have the right intention, that we don't lose our head like Daksha did. Sometimes we talk about, I'm losing my head. I do not know what I was speaking. Well, let's not become Daksha. Let's remember Daksha. He lost his head. Why? Because of his pride, because of his assumptions, because of his envy. So Srimad Bhagavatam is a source of knowledge. It's a source of so many examples that we can bring in our life. We are not living in Vedic times, that's for sure. We are living in Kali Yuga, but we can take the teachings of Bhagavatam and try to the best of our abilities to stay sane, or at least always have the right intention to connect to the Lord, and to connect to the Lord not only at the temple, not only when we are meditating, not only when we are chanting, but when we are actually interacting with everyone, because the Lord is in the heart of every single living entity, not only human beings, is in the heart of every single living entity. Therefore, we have to be very careful. With this, I will end. I beg your forgiveness for any mistake, for any shortcomings, and what I can always say is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. This is the tenet of our faith. If we follow it, Krishna will make sure that we have the right words, the right intention, the right connection, and